Alright everybody, welcome to Wally's World. Today is Dragon Quest Day. For those who are not familiar, Dragon Quest is one of the Godfather JRPG series. So today I've decided to do my definitive tier list ranking. Obviously this is my personal opinion on these tier lists for the games that I've played all the way through Dragon Quest 1 through Dragon Quest 11. So definitely my opinion only. This is obviously subjective. Please let me know what your opinions are on where these games rank in your own tier list. We'll go ahead and jump on in today with Dragon Quest 1. So Dragon Quest 1, I played on the Switch for the first time. Very short game. It's the, people say the start of the JRPG series. Obviously that's debatable, but the influences are there for all of the major series. From then on. Dragon Quest 1 surprised me with how much I enjoyed it. For that, I'm giving it a A-tier ranking. It's probably high on my list versus a lot of other lists, just due to the fact that it's super grindy. You only have one character that you're playing with. The difficulty spikes are there. Again, I played the Switch version, so I know there were some changes on that versus the original Dragon Warrior game that came out originally. But this is a great game in my opinion, and I was pretty pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed it. Dragon Quest 2, same thing honestly. I played the Switch version. Again, Dragon Quest 1 and 2, this is before the HD 2D remake that's going to occur later in 2025. So Dragon Quest 2, same thing. It's you have 3 party members now instead of just one. There's improvements from 1 overall. I'm gonna put a B tier. It's still a good game in my opinion. The difficulty ramps up a little bit more, and it's got has the the old JRPG system where it's you really need to pay attention to and talk to basically everyone in town in order to figure out your next step. So there's some of that going on. It's still a great game. If you like Dragon Quest as a series, I mean, you really should give 1 and 2 a try. They're relatively short games. I think I finished 1 in like 8 hours, 2 with a little bit more longer run time than that. But definitely give these a shot, even with them being dated. You may want to just wait until the HD 2D remakes, because we're going to talk about 3 in just a second. And with 3, with that one being so good, you may just want to wait for that if you do want to give it a try, but I definitely recommend giving it a shot regardless. So that brings us to Dragon Quest 3 and our first S tier game. So full disclosure, I just played this series, Dragon Quest 3 recently, and my first time was the HD 2D remake that Square Enix just put out. So I'm going strictly on that versus any other version that is currently out there. Dragon Quest 3 is widely considered one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. Japan loves this game as a whole. I mean, this game, and I can see it. I mean, the HD, just strictly speaking, the HD 2D remake as a whole, beautiful game. Love the art style that they chose for it. Obviously, it had some quality of life improvements on it, but the game itself improved, in its entirety from Dragon Quest 1 and 2. The game is just night and day above these two. It's an incredible game, and I understand how anyone loved it. The HD 2D remake, it made it so accessible to everyone, even someone who may not like the series, like JRPGs as a whole. I would recommend giving it a shot just because it's a beautiful game. The gameplay is very tight. There are still difficulty spikes, but I never found it to be super grindy as a whole. I would definitely give it a shot, but I love this game, and honestly, I'm mad that it took me this long to try it, but I am very happy that I did get to experience it in this beautiful remake that they did, and I'm looking forward to replaying 1 and 2 with the HD 2D remake that they put out. I think they literally just gave a official date for it as October 30th, 2025. All right, so we'll move on to the next three set of games. So I guess I should preface this. Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 are what's called the Irja trilogy. Technically, 3 is before the events of 1 and 2 chronologically. Then that moves us into a second trilogy of games, loosely connected, which is 4, 5, and 6. I think they pronounce it the Zenith trilogy. I played 4 and 5 on the iOS, which is kind of blasphemy, but I just had no really good way of doing it. And those ports are actually really great. And so if you don't have a DS or can't emulate, I would highly recommend going into the App Store or the Android store and downloading that version. It's a very good way to play it, in my opinion. Dragon Quest 4 is an A tier for me. This game was great. I loved the format that it did. So you had your main party, and the beginning of the game is set up in chapters. Each chapter is dedicated to one of the main characters of the story, and once you go through that chapter, then it ends and you move on to the next character until all of those chapters are complete, and then the party merges together, and then we move towards end game and going towards completing the game and beating the final boss. I loved how this is set up because you can really get attached to characters this way and learn about them. You may not like it, characters, but you at least get their background and you get a little bit more attached than you really can in these type of games going way back. The writing is really good on it, and I enjoyed my time with Dragon Quest 4. Dragon Quest V is going to be our second S tier game of this list. If you are familiar with the series, Dragon Quest V is always mentioned as one of the best. The game itself has a lot of dark elements to it. You start the game as a child and you progress throughout the game, and you finally end the game as an adult with children of your own. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's a great game. I love the concept of it. Really, 4 and 5, they really tried something different. Like, you still have your bare bones classic JRPG formula and Dragon Quest formula at this point, where you go to the town, you solve that town's problem, and then you move on to the next town. That's all there. But the way they present it is incredible, in my opinion. I love these two games as, coming back to back with the chapters in 4, and then the basically life story of your main hero in 5. They're great games, and honestly, if you're gonna start at a series, 3 and 5, or if you're starting with Dragon Quest New, 3 and 5 are great options as entry points. You really can do any of these games in this series because they're not connected. There are loose connections in some of the games, but they're standalone games. But 3 and 5 are great entry points to any newcomer of the series. Alright, so this is going to be our first not played game, so Dragon Quest 6. I've got multiple versions of this game that I own. I just haven't had a chance to start it yet. I'm actually looking forward to it, even though I have heard mixed opinions about it. So Dragon Quest 6, again, it's the last of the second trilogy of games. Again, loosely connected, but I haven't played it myself, but I'm looking forward to it. I've heard mixed things overall, just with the quality versus 4 and 5. Not that it's a bad game, again, just compared to the basically run that Square was on, releasing 3, 4, and 5. Like 6 was just a little disappointing in that regard. Again, I'm excited to try it and form my own opinion on it, so that's going to be on my list to do, but this is just what I've heard of that game as a whole. Alright, so Dragon Quest 7. Again, haven't played it. I know, starting off this list with 2 of the 7 that I haven't played, but Dragon Quest 7, it started on the PlayStation, and they had a 3DS remake of it. I've heard, again, mixed things on this game, really specifically due to the runtime on it, with it coming into about 100 hours in total for gameplay, and the fact that it can be pretty slow and tedious in the beginning hours of the game, which really take up a large chunk of your playtime. So that's kind of what I've heard from it. Again, I own it on the 3DS, so I'm looking forward to playing it and forming my own opinion on it. But yeah, that's Dragon Quest 7, so we'll have to get on that and get started. So Dragon Quest 8 this is going to be the first probably mixed opinion on my list in particular. I'm going to move Dragon Quest 8 into the A tier. Dragon Quest 8 is a great game. I totally understand how a lot of people have this as their favorite game. S tier caliber, it's all there, and that's so true. Has great characters and a great story on it. Personally, I think it's an A tier just due to the fact that it plays a little slow. And I say that playing the 3DS version myself. The 3DS version just played slow, and it got a little repetitive and boring on my side. But I still recognize that it's a great game, and I liked it. But I'm hoping for a modern remake on this. Maybe not like, obviously like Final Fantasy VII type deal. Just kind of revamping and doing some quality of life adjustments, even more from the PS2 to the 3DS on that. Just kind of speeding up the game a little bit. And not really like story pacing wise, just actual gameplay wise. It's a great game. I totally understand anyone's opinion that it's a S tier caliber game, but personally for me, it's an A tier. Dragon Quest 9, haven't played it either. I own it for the DS. I went ahead and bought a copy. I've heard great things about this one, mainly due to the fact that you could completely customize your character, which you couldn't really do at that point in the series, and it used the DS features with online play, where you could actually team up and run through dungeons with your friends. I've heard still good things, that it can be played completely solo now that the DS life has run its cycle, but I'm looking forward to try it. I went ahead and bought a copy myself, and that's kind of where we are at that one. Okay, so again, Dragon Quest X, I have not played. I'd venture to say a lot of people who are fans of this series have not played, mainly because this is a online game, an MMO. So Dragon Quest Online, it's really only available to Asian countries. So it's not accessible to us. They did make an offline version, again, only for, Asian countries, which I'm very upset about. I did buy a copy of the offline version, but I can't read Japanese. I can't speak Japanese. So I bought it really more of a collector's item. I'm probably going to boot it up on my Switch and just see if I can do a Google Translate, even though I know that's going to be very tedious. I've heard decent things about this game as a whole. There's a lot of content. I know the offline version is only, the first and second version of the online game, but overall I've heard decent things about it, and it's a Dragon Quest game, so I'm excited to try it when I finally get to it. Our final game on the list, Dragon Quest 11. This is easily an S tier and my favorite game of the series. It is, I will warn you, this is the first game that I played of the series. So I do have a little bias on it, as I'm sure a lot of people do on, lists they make on these type of games. But I loved it. I love the story. I love the characters. I love the gameplay. It made me a fan of the series. It made me want to go back and try the previous games, which I've done to an extent. I've still got some that I need to tackle, but it is a great game. Full warning, so the game has 3 acts that you go through. The end of Act 2, honestly, I could totally see the end of Act 2 being its actual ending of the game. At that point, you're 60 to 70 hours in, and it has a very satisfying conclusion at that point. All the emotional story beats are hit and kind of answered for at that point. Our characters are in a great spot at that point, and so I was totally satisfied dropping it right there. Act 3, I know they do kind of a time, whammy type deal, and that left a lot of people disappointed. But there's a whole entire act after what's could be considered the ending of the game that gets you to the actual ending of the game. So there's a lot of content in this game, basically, but it's a great game as a whole, and it's my introduction to the series, and it made me a fan of this series as a whole. So down the line, what we're expecting now with Dragon Quest is the Dragon Quest 12. That's going to be the next mainline game in the series to come out, excluding the remake of 1 and 2 that's due later this year. But 12, we really have no information on as a whole, and we have no dates, so there's not a whole lot to go on. But I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to play a new entry into this series, and I've still got some games to tackle from the series as well. So let me know what you all think as far as your ranking of Dragon Quest as a whole, as a series. I would love to know, and drop a comment or subscribe, for more future videos on gaming and just, talking in general. I hope I didn't annoy you too much with my opinions. So, yeah.